4th, the 5th? 5th, okay, let's call it the 5th. So this is, we moved it up from tomorrow. We had a conflict tomorrow, so we're going to meet today. Our normal standing meeting time is 9 o'clock on Friday, right? And then also on Friday, we meet with the county attorney, and we're going to do that today instead of tomorrow. Just to let you know, our meetings, for those employees that might not be able to make it here, or if somebody wants to go back and see what we said, they're being recorded and they're live streamed actually on Facebook. And then that Facebook or YouTube feed is put on a website, and Deanna McQueen, our communications director, is going to talk to us about that website that's been established. So there's referenced archived video footage of these meetings, and employees can go back and look at those tapes, if you will, to get the information again, or get it for the first time if they can't be here this morning. So, thank you for being here. Did you guys have a good Thanksgiving?
Yes.
Right, we were on. Who had the best turkey, do you think? Was it, how many pounds was it?
12.
12, that's a good size.
Deep fried.
Oh, yeah. I had some deep fried turkeys are over there. And then we got Christmas coming up. We're going to talk a little bit about that today. We do want this department. Yesterday I met with our Human Resources Director, Yvonne, who came in. And we looked at the list of departments that will be off that week. City Council approved, after our recommendation, to be closed, non-essential services to be closed between Christmas and New Year's. There's holidays anyway, and then we know people generally take that time off. And so that is a kind of it's a new city policy where we're closed. So we're going to talk a little bit about how some of the services will be off that week, like probably WIC is a good candidate. There's no need to necessarily take WIC clinic patients that week. But we do need to talk about Omicron, because we may be doing some vaccines, but we do have temporary staff folks that are working through that big grant. So we'll talk a little bit about it today and then work with Annette to get the final schedule. But that is a citywide endorsed holiday approved by the City Council, closed between Christmas and New Year. So I know that's on your mind as well. But speaking of Omicron, we do need to talk a little bit about the question that's come up this week with Omicron, which is, are we going to continue to create the City Health Department given the fact that Omicron's here? And the answer is yes. We're going to continue to work towards that effort. I reminded some folks earlier in the week that we have 3 goals, I think we collectively, which is 1, better health outcomes for the community, right? Better use of our taxpayers' dollars when it comes to healthcare delivery. And then 3, a better work environment for you all. And so we want to do that regardless of Omicron. And that Greek alphabet, somebody sent me a chart of it, but there's many more letters still to come. So we think, not because it's letters, but there's probably a chance that there'll be even more variants, right, coming up after Omicron. So we're going to continue to do both. We talked about this in meeting number 1, which is we can do more than one thing, right, as people or as an organization. So we'll continue to look at how do we create the separate health department, negotiating with the county, and then how do we continue to provide good health outcomes for the community. And remember, we made a pledge that we won't interrupt service, right? So we're going to be mindful of that in our minds and working with you and giving you feedback, but we are going to continue to look at how do we create that separate health department, because we know City Council approved that, we know the community wants it, better health outcomes, we know that we want to better use our taxpayer dollar, and more importantly for you all this morning, and for us, we want better work environment for our employees. So, any questions on that, on the Omicron or the path forward? Now I'm going to just pause for a minute and introduce some of the staff that are here. I know you know a lot of them, but just in case somebody's watching this maybe from afar, we have Steve Vieira, Assistant City Manager, Annette, and the Health Executive Staff report to Steve. Yvonne McHaney, okay? Even with that mask, we got that K. And Yvonne's going to speak to us today. She's our Human Resources Director. She's a lead person in helping us with posting positions, doing position analysis, and we talked about this exciting statement. Next, I'm going to say is looking at pay ranges. We know that because of the district setup, where there were county employees, city employees, for many years, maybe decades, adjustments weren't made because the 2 entities couldn't decide what the pay should be. And so we're going to do pay range adjustments in a significant way for our over 100 employees. Okay, and then Sony just came in, so Imperial, assistant to the city manager. In the back, we do have our AV control folks. Maybe wave your hands. Thank you for the live coverage. It looks good. I think the media, Michael Gibson, maybe with Channel 3, may be covering it as well. Lewis, assistant director, is here. Thank you, Lewis, for being here this morning. We have Chris from our innovation and performance. Veronica? Valencia, sorry, Valencia. Valencia also. Valencia is going to speak this morning along with Chris on some updates on those work teams that we talked about last week. We have some leaders for the work teams that we know, and we were excited to see 2 weeks ago when we unveiled this, the amount of enthusiasm from you all signing up for those work teams. So we're going to talk about those today. We have Ray here, Steve's assistant, and then Deanna McQueen, who's going to speak also this morning, our communications director. Our legal team is here, so Miles Risley, the city attorney, and then, Francisco, yeah, sorry. Francisco, who is basically first assistant city attorney, county attorney, first assistant county attorney. He's here for Jenny Dorsey today. So that includes our lineup of our staff today. And what we're going to cover this morning is we did talk a little bit about already the Omicron and how does that impact this transition plan. And we talked about it's not really going to impact it that much, we think, but we're going to adjust if we need to. On that same note, we've talked with the county, and they've sent letters to us, and we actually sent them a letter back yesterday, because as we negotiate with them, they want more time to do the transition. And we told them that we know it's probably going to take more time than that January 18th 90-day deadline. And so soon we're going to, we'll put it in writing and provide to the county and to us here kind of the transition timeline plan. We know it's going to take more than 90 days to transition all the programs to either the city or to the health district or maybe to the county solo. And so we'll have that. So things like vital statistics, the WIC, those are good examples where those are easy transfer programs, right? So those may happen early in January. But others, complex grant programs where we have to get input from the granting agency, those may take a little bit longer, right? So the plan is to transition this over time, moving some of the functions over sooner rather than later. But events like Omicron and other variants that are on their way, or other public health situations, are not a cause to stop this or significantly slow this, because those three goals we talked about: better health outcomes, better use of tax dollars, and fuel a better work environment. Okay, so there is no, I had on my agenda here a county update, but Francisco is here in case there's any questions. The update really is that we continue to meet with the county, and in fact today, later today, we'll have another negotiating session with the county, and then next week I think Jenny will be here next week. Okay, so that takes us to third item that we're going to talk about today, which is a human resource update. And Yvonne McKinney, is you going to speak, Yvonne, right? Sure, okay. Hope you know you were going to. Yvonne's going to talk to us. Remember, we talked about posting certain executive or managerial positions just before the Thanksgiving break. So she's going to talk about those, which ones we have closed, and the progress of the applicants received. Right?
Yes. Good morning. Good morning. So just a brief update. The director position, we're still working through the brochure and getting that posted. Hope to have a draft brochure ready to present to ELT by Friday. And so within the next week or two, we hope to have the director position posted. But just as a reminder for you guys, we posted the 5 city side management positions. Those positions closed Friday at midnight. We've received applications. We sent our reminders to all the current people in those roles. And I don't think we have anybody that's applied for that environmental position. So just as a reminder, the position closes on Friday, all the positions close Friday at midnight, and then from there we'll schedule and work out the interview process, okay? Yes, this Friday at midnight. So if you're interested, know someone who's interested, tell them to get the applications in so that we can start interviews, okay?
How many applications? 5?
Yes, 5 positions.
There's somebody in that minute, environmental?
Okay, any questions for me? Real brief update. All right, if you have any questions, just reach out, okay?
I'm gonna ask Yvonne a couple of questions when I get a chance to, we met yesterday, it was on something else, but, so after these 5, what's the next layer, do you think, of positions that will be posted?
Well, we're gonna work with, I'm gonna work with
Hold on.
Sorry about that. I always think I'm so loud. I talk really loud, but I'm working with Steve to identify the recruitment panels, and then we'll do the interviews. Once we get the people identified for the managerial positions, I talked to you guys last week about, or week before last, about doing the kind of brief, what's the word I'm looking for? What is it? Somebody remembers it, I can't remember. The job fair. There we go, sorry. The job fair, so the modified job fair process, just so that we can, and we're gonna host it at City Hall. If you haven't been over there, we have a new training room. And so we'll use the training room, do some brief interviews, give time to collect all your applications, answer any questions you have. Haven't identified the timeline for those positions yet, really just focused on getting those managerial positions filled first. Because I feel like the managers are gonna be key to helping to recruit for those other roles, okay?
Yeah, thanks for reminding us, I forgot about that. Okay, good, so it's on the city website, the
Yes.
job postings? Okay, the city's website, and then, you guys don't have any questions, we're good on those? Okay, and again, as we just talked about here, back and forth, that's the first step, right, get the manager positions hired, and then they will be instrumental in helping to hire the staff that are within each of those divisions. All right? Okay, great. Now, we're going to talk next about communication. We have an update by Deanna McQueen. We do have what we're calling a Health Department Communications Hub. And so this is available to both city and county employees. And for the record and the folks that may be watching, our work team here, which includes about 100 employees or so, are both city and county. And the county has the opportunity to speak if they want to. Speaking to both sets of employees, but everything we do is open to both city and county employees. So the 5 managerial positions as an example, a city person or a county person can apply to those. The next item is a communications hub, and that's available just as these videos are to both sets of employees. And so Deanna is going to talk to us about the communications hub that she's established. And Deanna, again, is the city's communication director.
Hi, everyone. How are you today? Good morning. Thank you so much for your dedication throughout this whole pandemic. Every time I see you guys out in the field, I'm so thankful, and I try to thank you all. You have made everybody feel so much more comfortable. Thank you for what you're doing. So communication, it's like my middle name. It's really important to me. So communication is key, and we want to communicate with you the best that we can, so we came up with a communication tool. And we're calling it the Health Department Communication Hub. And there you will find a little bit of everything about what's going on. But the way you get to it is we passed out these sheets, and you look at it. There's an address there, corpuschristi.sharepoint.com/sites/city-health-info. And what we're going to do is put out all news releases that we put out involving this transition, meeting videos like this one that you're attending now. You can go back and look at it, meeting information. Also, we'll have a contact. Raymond is our contact. If you have any questions, any comments, you can email him. And we're continuing to let y'all sign up for the focus groups. So there's a little bit on there, but I'm being told that that is about coming to an end. So today, if you have a chance to go on and look at it, you can try to sign up for that if you haven't already. And as Yvonne just mentioned, the upcoming job fair will have some information coming down on that. But we just want to do our very best to communicate with you. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me. Just have him at cctexas.com. But we're here to make this an easy process and make it comfortable. So I hope you guys will utilize it, and thank you for letting me talk today. I appreciate it. Did you have any questions?
I do, yeah. Do you all have any questions for Deanna McQueen?
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, great. Just for the other audiences out there, maybe through Facebook or YouTube or for the future, we did pass out a one-page document that lists the website address. Deanna kind of went over that quickly. It's a long address, but she did that because she knows everybody has it in front of them. Right, so just in case somebody is watching, didn't get it all, it's Corpus Christi, one word, .sharepoint.com, and then / sites, SITES, / one word, city health info. Okay. Okay, great. So what we're going to do now is we're at the last item, and we'll do some Q&A too. So this meeting may not take the full hour today, but we're going to spend some time now talking about those employee focus groups. And just to put them into context again, we know that we're going to have employee program work groups. Right, like the WIC group or the STD group or the what do you call it, the TB group, right, or the vaccinators, whatever. So those employee groups will be meeting with us as we talk about what do we do in those program areas, what assets do we have, what employees do we have, and what should we have? Because remember the conversation we had in meeting number 3 of 4, which was as we transition to the City Health Department, it's not a copy-paste, but rather it's an innovative approach. We want to know what are we doing today, and are we doing it the way we want it, or maybe we want to do it differently. And remember that example of those TVs where they used to be made with tubes, and the industry for many years just focused on making the tubes better, and even doing that, the TVs were massive, right? Until all of a sudden they came up with plasma or flat screen TVs, and that changed the dynamic significantly, right? And so the same thing in our health district, to health department transition, we want to say, and we want you to see and say, what are we doing today and how can we do it better tomorrow or differently? And maybe we're not doing something today that we want to do. And we put that in transition. So a lot of that will come out as we meet with you in focus groups based on your program area. So that's one set of focus groups. The other set, though, is to help us on other transition matters. And I think there's 10, Chris? 8. There's 8 other areas. And I'll read them off to you now. I'm going to turn the mic over to Chris. Well, the Human Resources Group is one. And you all, we went over this in our last meeting just before Thanksgiving, and employees had the opportunity to sign up to one or more if you wanted to. Since that last meeting, we have an employee focus group liaison, like a lead person that'll help coordinate meetings and locations and notes and that type of thing. So the Employee Resource Group is Yvonne, is the lead of that, Yvonne McCain. We have a grants programs area, Heather Calderon from the city's finance department, and Rocky Barrera. Were you going to cover this stuff, Chris?
Yeah, I can.
You wrote it away, so I don't want to take that in notes. Okay. All right. So then there's a partner agency group, Valencia, who's here with us this morning, is the lead on that. We have a space planning group. We talk about space, many employees, right? We talk about we want to make our environment here better. Space planning group is led by Gilbert Trevino, who works in the health district, and he's here with us this morning. We have a building maintenance and facilities management group, Max Jones. He's the city's asset management, I think assistant director, or almost, or the division head. Okay, program manager, sorry. Then we have an asset management and inventory group. We talk about assets like vehicles and lab equipment, but also other inventories. So we have a work group for that, and that is Ray, who's Steve's assistant. He's here with us today. There's an innovation group, and Chris is the lead on that, and Valencia is also here with us from our city's innovation group. And then a marketing and branding group, and Deanna McQueen is the lead on that, and she already spoke to us this morning. So with that, I'm going to turn this over to Chris, who's our assistant director over innovation and strategic reshaping our business processes, and he's going to go into more detail.
Thanks very much. All right, I do have a couple more things to say, so Peter, you didn't take everything away. First off, I just want to thank you all. When we brought those slides, you probably saw them just before your Thanksgiving meal. We had those printouts of the QR codes where you could snap a picture and sign up for the form, so we've had great interest. I just want to thank you all for that. To recap, we do have the 8 groups. I know we just also heard about who the liaisons will be. Just to get into what we really want to do, what the goal is for all these groups, it's to be efficient, of your time, informative for you all, and focused. We want to make sure that the meetings, once we have you guys get together with your liaison and your full group, that it's meaningful, that you're having these conversations that are going to be able to get input from you all, and not something that is just kind of feeling like it's a filler or anything like that. So in the spirit of doing that, we did identify liaisons, and what these liaisons are going to do is they're going to help us to identify the meeting schedule that fits the consensus of the group, so we can look at getting you guys together Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, maybe Thursday AM, because the goal is to get you guys meeting before the city work team meets on Thursdays, and then again, before we have these meetings on Fridays. So that's going to be the idea, but again, more to come from the liaison once we have those full groups determined. We want to also have open lines of communication, so once you know who that liaison is and once you know which groups you're going to be a part of, then be sure to give them information even outside of the meeting times. We want to make sure that you guys are able to provide your inputs freely, and we're wanting that. So just to talk to y'all again about those QR codes and what we have on the Communication Hub currently, those registrations are actually going to close tomorrow. We've had it open a full 2 weeks. So please, if you know folks that have not signed up for any yet, please let them know that they're going to be closing by tomorrow, end of day. And that way we can really determine who's going to serve in each group. We did get folks that signed up for multiple groups. We definitely appreciate the enthusiasm, but what we've heard is I think it would be best for us to send those back to you. Just give us your top 3, because I think the best use of everyone's time would likely be for people to be serving no more than 2 groups. So please take a look back at the descriptions of the groups and see where you really want to be most involved. I know that that is, probably tough to hear, but I think it would be best for us to do that moving forward. So again, what we'll do between Valencia and myself, we'll be sending out emails to those that did sign up for maybe all 8 focus groups, and we'll just ask you to please identify the top 3, and that way we can kind of go from there, so we know who's going to be serving on these groups moving forward. Does anybody have any questions about the focus groups? Yes, ma'am.
You're just sending emails back to people who applied for all of them, or who applied for more than 2 or 3?
Right, it would be for more than 3 likely, because if you've got 2, then we'll probably be able to accommodate getting people into those top 2 groups. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, quick question. So I noticed you said that, the group leaders would, find an ideal time and things like that. But ideally, how long do you think the meetings would be? Would be like 30 minutes, an hour?
I think at the beginning, what we're going to do, we've developed charters or kind of like a way ahead for each of these groups, what we think is going to be a good goal for everyone to get out of the meetings. I think the first one, because there will be a lot of orientation kind of getting through what the group's goals are going to be, the first one may be an hour, and then we'll see how it goes from there. I think the next meeting 2 would likely be also an hour, but it could taper off just moving forward, because again, once we start getting inputs, I mean, from those maybe 8 to 10 people that are going to serve in a group, we'll be able to keep having those meetings and keep the conversation going. But once you've thrown out your ideas, I don't know, we don't want to squeeze a dry sponge, as it were. So, any other questions, Beth? All right. Well, thank you guys.
Okay, great. Just for in case the Facebook, YouTube people didn't have the questions were, you probably got them from the answer, but what's the meeting duration time? And the first meeting will probably last about an hour. The others will be dependent on, the content and the task at hand, but a half hour to an hour. And the time of the meeting and the location, all that will be determined with the work groups, participants, and the leader, right? What best suits that work group. And then what was the other question again?
People sign up for multiple.
Oh, yeah, right. So multiple
means 3 or more.
Right, so if you only sign up for 2, you won't get an email, but if you sign up for 3 or more, those employees will get the email to help clarify it down just to 2, right? Okay, great. Let's see, that concludes really the work agenda for this morning, with the exception of one more thing I want to talk about real quick. It's the city-county elected officials' schedules. So this week, the Commissioners Court met on Tuesday instead of Wednesday, and they had, following it, they had an executive session item to talk about the city's withdrawal from the health district and the health district remaining. And it was all an executive session, so when the Commissioners Court came out, there was no conversation, no vote taken, and so we're not aware of what happened because those executive sessions are confidential to the participants in there, which in this case would be the Commissioners Court members. So that did take place this week. They had a similar executive session about a week ago, or their last meeting prior to that one. And they did have their outside attorney there with them. I forget their name, Miles, I don't know. Aragon. Okay. Aragon was there with them, and they're advising the Commissioners Court on their way forward. And then City Council hasn't met for 2 weeks because of the break, the Thanksgiving break, and I guess it was the last Thursday of the month deal. But anyway, they're meeting next Tuesday. And we're going to have 2 items on our agenda next Tuesday. One is as part of the city manager report, there'll be an update from Annette, Annette, on the Omicron to provide that information to the community and the council. And then I'm going to do a short update to the council on progress we're making with the transition to the city health department. So that'll just be an informational item to the city council and others that are watching that day. There's no action item, no specific agenda item with respect to the city's health department on the agenda. There is one health-related agenda item, which is the TB grant. What was it, 4 million or 6 million? Anybody know? Does anybody have from TB? We have the grant for the next year, so that's fine. What's that? Yeah, it's all right. It's somewhere between 4 and 6 million. That grant is on, it's considered a city grant, so, but it goes to the health district since the district is still in place today. And that's an example of after it's awarded to the health district, we'll work with the granting agency to see about assignment. We don't know how that's going to work yet. We know that we're going to talk to the granting agencies and our negotiating team with the city county. So that's on the agenda as well, just as an FYI. Okay, so that concludes our prepared items for this morning. We do have a little bit of time. If anybody has any questions or comments for the team here. Okay. I just want to close out reiterating what Deanne McLean said, which is we are appreciative of this group. The community is. We know more than ever that public health is critical, especially in times like this where you have a pandemic and one that continues, right? It's been 2 years. The Omicron variant has put us all back on notice, so to speak. And so we appreciate what you do. I know you've tested me several times, vaccinated me 3 times in my family, not to mention about 50% of our community. And so we appreciate that work. We know that you're tired and you work a lot, and we also know that you're strong professionals, and we rely on you. So I want to thank you on behalf of the city and county this morning. So with that, we're going to meet again next week, Friday. And Chris, let's see, so just one final thing. So on those work teams, the teams get kind of assembled over the weekend. When are the first meetings, you think?
We were shooting for.
Okay, just 1 second, because this would be a next step as well.
So we were shooting to get the first meetings going by next week. If we're still able to make that happen, we will. But again, it's going to take us a little bit of time after we close the groups to then get those emails out to the folks. So we'll ask for a quick turnaround for us to get back your top 2. So for those that did sign up for multiple groups, it's imperative that we get that quickly. That way we can get the meetings started so very quickly.
Are we considering the Zoom or WebEx?
Oh, absolutely,
Okay,
absolutely.
perfect.
Because again, if we have people that are located all over the place, I mean, we've all become very accustomed to using WebEx, so let's use it.
Right, thanks, Chris. And just to repeat the question to the YouTube, Facebook. So the question was, are those work teams, the 8 work team meetings, could they be done with Zoom and WebEx? And the answer was yes. And it'll be dependent on that team makeup, what they desire. It could be a combination of in-person, WebEx, same meeting. Okay, so that's the schedule. So the next steps then are, today, the city-county negotiating teams meet. Later in the day, a standing meeting. Next week, some of those 8 work groups may begin to meet. Next week, the city council meets. We'll provide an update of what we're doing to the council and the community. I'm not sure about the next Commissioners Court meeting. Is Francisco still there? Do you know when that next meeting is, Francisco, the Commissioners Court? The 15th of December? Okay, so a couple of weeks out before the next Commissioners Court meeting. So City Council next week, and then the following week would be the Commissioners Court. And then we'll be back here with you all next Friday. So today's Thursday, so a week and a day. Next Friday we'll be back here at 9 o'clock. Okay, thank you again. Stay safe and have a good weekend.